My name's Alyssa, and I'll be doing the questions for my full sail assignment with my boyfriend here, Chance. And I'm going to ask him the first question, and we'll take turns asking each other questions for the assignment. I was coughing, my bad. Okay. Do you have a secret hunch on how you will die?
Um, my secret hunch on how I will die is I kind of have a feeling it's gonna be like I'll die in a funny way, uh, Elvis, how he died on a toilet or some fell asleep on a toilet, um, like a humorous way of dying, which is a strange way to say it because dying's a pretty sad thing, but I hope when I die, it's pretty funny, so it'll make it less sad. Um, what would you constitute a perfect day?
The
Constitute as a
perfect day.
perfect day.
Okay. The perfect day for me would definitely be, this is cheesy, but cuddled up to you watching Christmas movies and drinking hot chocolate with Christmas sprinkles and whipped cream on it. Even though you don't really like sweets, but I do, so.
I do hope that Dr. Modi is
No.
being torn to pieces by this mob.
Um,
Modi?
Okay, now hold on.
I only know her by
Name three
reputation
things
for
we
the
have
sick
in
shit she's
common.
done to people.
I know for sure that we like zombies. Um, well, we like to play survival games and we like to make fun of each other.
We do like to bully each other.
For what in your life do you feel grateful for?
What I feel grateful for is God. Because with everything that I've been going through lately in my life with the hotel and, losing electricity in my house and such, and not being able to figure out if my landlord's dead or not, I feel like the Lord is something I'm going to be grateful for because I know that at the end of the tunnel of like the darkness and the hard times that God has something great in store for me. I just have to get past the obstacles that are thrown in my way.
Nice.
That's all
Like
you have
that
to
one.
say is nice. Do you like it?
Hmm.
So, would you like to be famous, and in what way would you like to be famous, and why?
Um, in a way I'd be famous. I'd kind of like, if I could be famous for, I want to be famous for like giving. I want to be known as somebody that like is given like giving something back to the world. Like I want to be known as somebody that can is known for just giving out happiness because the world within itself spews out like a lot of bad things, and the way the world is now, it's very depressing. And if I could be famous, I want to be famous for doing stuff that makes people happy and makes people's life better. That's the way I want to be famous for.
Okay, that's actually a good answer.
Mm, given the choice of anyone in the world, who would you want as a dinner guest?
I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate on this one. And I honestly don't care because it's something I would like to do. It would definitely be Donald Trump. And the reason I chose him is though people do not agree with him politically, you know, because of everything. Um, it's because he's a good businessman, and to be able to get to like sit down and have a talk with him, I would probably ask him like some advice that he, as to going into the business field, of some kind of advice that he never gave anyone else, if possible. I feel like if he could answer some of my questions, I feel like I'd probably be able to do some good with it, because I know I'm going in for cybersecurity, but the plan of it is to get my degree in it and then go to business school so I can open up my own cybersecurity business. That's my career path goal. So being able to sit down with him and ask him the questions that I would like to ask, that would be amazing. So we got 9 minutes left of our set 1 questions. So I want to do something, as these were questions from the website of suggestion. So I want you to ask me a random question, any question you want.
Say, okay. Strange question, but say you were a death row inmate. Okay, you did something terrible. What would you want your last meal to be? Where you got like
Uh,
electric chaired or something? I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie, it would definitely be an Arby's beef and cheddar, because nothing's gonna beat that. Arby's beef and cheddar with definitely some curly fries and probably a chocolate milkshake.
Out of all the things, you'd choose that. And like they're
Yes.
paying for it. They're paying for it all. Like it's free.
Yeah.
You
All
can
right,
have
fine. You
like
know what? I don't
a
care because I'm gonna die, so I might as well clog my arteries. I want 5 of them. 5 of them.
five.
5 Arby's beef and cheddars.
Oh my goodness. Right.
Okay.
Since you hit me with a random question, right? You made me hit you with a random question. It's a random question you got.
A random question I got. Let's see. Okay. If somehow, because, you know, I've read fan fictions in my life, and I've, you know, got this as an idea from a fan fiction, but if you were playing your Xbox, right, and you were zapped somehow because something with your electricity went all haywire, okay? You passed out and you woke up in a game. What game would you be in?
Oh, that's
Like,
a
you get to
horrible
choose.
question.
Yeah.
You see, because all the games I like playing, they're like post like nuclear apocalypse or some evil like horrible setting like that. So if I had to choose one just to make it fun, I would want to be in a world with like a bunch of like different people and like with magic. So I'd say safe bet for me would be like Baldur's Gate, but if I'm choosing my all-time favorite, I would probably choose Mass Effect.
Okay,
Well,
side question. Why would you choose Mass Effect?
because aliens and you get to travel through space.
Okay. Your turn.
Um, All right. Um, if you had the power, like the world gave you the power, like you were in control of everything, what was one thing that you would change about the world?
I would take. This is pretty. I'm gonna keep it kind of PG as I can, but I'd take all the pedophiles and I would put them on an island, and I'd make sure that they had nothing and they'd starve to death. And that's morbid, but
I
it's
would,
one thing I do not like. And I would probably put people who abuse animals there too. Like they both could be there, but it would have to be an island that they can't swim back from because we all know what happened with Alcatraz. So,
oh well, that's a good answer, but I was like hoping like maybe you would like solve world hunger or
but that's such a basic thing. Everyone wants to solve world hunger.
well.
I mean, is it not the truth? That's like the top answer for everything. And if we take people like that and put them on an island, we'd have more food. So,
Cause they're island boys are all right.
I had a question in mind, but I forgot what it was. I'm trying to think. Oh, okay. If, okay, you have everything in front of you that you would need for this. If you could try a new hobby, what would it be?
Hmm. New hobby, huh?
Mm.
Try something like artsy. Probably be like a blacksmith or a mason. Make statues, like sculptures, marble sculptures or something.
Good, you can make us a marble counter.
That is like the
A
easiest
marble
thing
camel
ever.
top. Camel top. What? um, counter top. There you go. Alright, we have about 2.5 minutes left, so go ahead and ask me another question for the set one.
Um, okay. Out of all the four seasons, which one's your most favorite?
We already know this. It's definitely fall. And it's definitely because, you know, I like the smell of pumpkins and I like that it's cold, but not too cold. I like that chilly breeze. It's my favorite. I love pumpkins. I love everything about autumn.
And to follow up with that, which one's your least favorite season and why?
I really want to say summer because the only thing I like about summer is swimming. But I hate everything about summer. I burn easy. I hate bugs. My favorite part is when they all die off in the fall. There's always
Even.
like bees and everything. The spiders. I'm good.
Well, bees and
Okay.
spiders are animals too, you know? That's animal
They're
abuse. And
they're insects.
due to your logic, you should be shipped to the island too.
Actually, no, because they're insects and they're not mammal. They're not animals. Like, they're pests, to be honest.
You're so mean.
No, I'm not. And I didn't say I wanted them dead. I didn't say I was gonna kill them. They just, like a video game, they despawn. I don't know. No. I'd quit
Spawn
mating
is
and stuff.
crazy. Alright.
Definitely funny though. Alright, we have.
Ask
Oh.
your last that one question.
What's your favorite food?
I don't have a favorite food. I just I like to eat.
Yeah.
I'm very easy to please when it comes to food, unless it's like you can obviously tell like that it smells really bad or like it just looks unappetizing. But other than that, like I'm used to eating like plain bare bones stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'm picky. Extremely picky. I can tell you what I like more than what I can tell you what I don't like. Because what I don't, because my list is so short on what I do like, so. Okay, now we're on to set 2. And you go first.
Would you value the most in friendship?
The most valuable thing to me, and it would be 2 things, because it would be a mixture of loyalty and honesty, and that it would be because of the fact that I've had horrible friends, and they've done horrible things to me, including use me. They just weren't honest or loyal, talking behind your back, like not telling you when something bothers them that you did. Like I don't like that. If you have a problem, or if you want to stab me in the back, then maybe we shouldn't be friends if you can't bring it up to me. And I
Yeah.
have a question for you on the same lines a little bit of it. What does friendship mean to you?
Mm, what friendship means to me, before I get into that, I'm very religious, so I like to base things off of the Bible and how I like to follow the book, one would so say. So, what I find valuable in friendship is that if a friend that builds you up, that like wants the best for you in any just throughout anything, just wants the best for you. Like they understand that we all do stuff wrong, that they're very open. They talk about how they feel if we do something wrong to them, and they're just like they're very supportive. They're they become like more like family than anything. I like having friends that feel like they're like a brother and sister to me instead of just having them be
There be light.
just like a
Pardon the cliche, but
they
must
it feels
separate
like I
them from
grew
the
up with them
candle.
if it makes more sense like that. And it's just I find it very valuable when a friend is just um
Got my cardio for the day.
very open and very just hyping you up, making everything when you're having a bad day, it just makes you feel amazing, even though you can be having the worst time of your life. As soon as you hang out with this person, you feel amazing. And they also teach you and they guide you and they help you through stuff. It's like brother in arms, sister in arms. You just lock arms together and you tough it through it, and you just know that they have your back no matter what happens, no matter what horrible things go on in your life. They're one of the pillars of your life that whenever a storm blows by and it's a bad one, you know that you're going to be helped by them. And I also like when like in a friend, like there's you talk bad about people, not like not behind their back. Like that's not right. But if you joke around with each other, I mean, it just depends on like whoever it is. But I like that the most. Just easygoing, just very supportive person. That feels more like
How's
family
that jerk taste?
than a friend, you know? That's
Mm-hmm.
what I find value in friendship. Um, what is your most terrible memory?
All right, this one's gonna be a trauma dump answer, and probably the most, well, heartbreaking for me at least. But it would be my grandmother's death, and that is because of the way that she had suffered for 8 months. My grandmother died from going into cardiac arrest, and she was a DNR, but they brought her back anyway. And mind you, this could have been a whole lawsuit. And they ended up doing open heart surgery on her. She was okay, when they brought her back. She was actually on life support, so I forgot to add that part in. So after they did like the open heart surgery and stuff, they had her on a trach, so that would be, I don't know if you know what a trach is, but it's the life support, but instead of going through the mouth, it would go through the throat. So she would be able to talk and stuff. So she was trying to get her ability to talk back because she'd laid there for so long that we didn't even know if she was gonna be there, if she was gonna be brain dead. But my grandma fought for these 8 months. I mean, and what started was obviously the surgery. It was 4th of July weekend. I guess one of the nurses rolled her,
I might like that better
and
than
they split open the staples to where they did the open heart surgery. And
back to the grave.
because I guess the doctor wouldn't come in because it was a holiday weekend, she sat there. The hospital wasn't cleanly. Obviously, they didn't wash their hands. And I've caught them not washing their hands and touching her. My grandma ended up getting over 8 different infections, and unfortunately, one of them was gangrene. So, my grandmother was in the medical center around here. They ended up moving her up to a hospital up in Pittsburgh, life-flighting her up by a forget what it's called, something back. And my grandmother had to get these surgeries done to remove the gangrene, and my grandmother was a big woman. She was probably about 500 pounds. They had to keep cutting, it out. There was a gaping hole in her chest from them cutting it out. They even went in and cut half of her stomach and used it to basically pull it up so it would cover because her sternum bone was showing from it because they had to cut that much out of it. And so by the time they were done, there was a hole from both of her shoulders basically up to the bottom of her neck and down past her chest. And by the time they were done, with everything, my grandmother was so small, she probably weighed about 200 pounds. So she lost 300 pounds within the course of 8 months from the gangrene of them cutting it out. I think the worst part of that as well would have been the decision of putting her back in the medical center that was local because they wanted to move her down to Kindred Care, which is hospice. Before they moved her down, before I left her room, she told me that she'd see me again someday, or I'll see you again one day, but I kind of didn't piece together what that meant until after so long she quit responding to anything, because at first she wouldn't fully respond either, because it was more like you had to say her name, and she wouldn't respond to Grandma Linda. You'd have to say her first and middle name, Linda Lee. So we would have to kind of shout that to get her to respond. Well, she wasn't responding with that anymore. And that came the decision of moving her back, obviously, to the Kindred. And I think the worst part was the decision of taking off the life support, because my grandmother was there, but she wasn't there, and I'm religious, so basically her spirit wasn't there anymore. She was already gone. She was just living. Her body was just still living because of the life support trach. So we decided, the doctor showed us that there was no movement. He hit her knee with the thing. There was no reaction to it. There was nothing. So my grandmother was gone. So when it was time to come, when the time came, sorry. The worst part of it all was the nurse who unplugged her trach and literally smacked my grandmother in the face and said, "Come on, Linda, die already." And that to this day is the worst memory, because my grandma had went through hell at hospital. They treated her like oh my gosh, sorry for my I didn't mean to swear, I'm so sorry. They treated her like crap. So it was like my grandmother went through pure agony and pain, and then you had people treating her like that. And that just hurt me severely, because my grandmother was my best friend, and I didn't even get to have my grandmother long as other people had their grandmother. My grandmother was only 62, and I was just 17 years old. And my grandma had been my best friend since I was born. I told my grandma everything. My grandma was like the person I'd go to, though there were things I did that my grandmother wasn't proud of. She probably judged me in her head for it, but she never did it to anyone else or to my, behind my back. She never did anything. I know there was things she wouldn't approve of, but she wouldn't go tell people, rude things about it. So that was probably the most traumatic, was seeing people in the healthcare field who were supposed to be kind and helpful, and them just smack my grandmother around while she's gone, telling her to just go already. That was traumatic and a horrible, horrible memory.
Well, I'm sorry.
So, to add on to it, because we have a minute left, there was one thing that was really weird about that entire experience. Was there was 2 nurses there who were really nice to my grandmother, and they both would talk to my grandmother, get her respond, would call her Linda Lee as well. It was so weird, because after everything, these were lawsuits that could have went through. We could have got the money, but not enough money in the world would have brought my grandmother back. And it would have just reopened wounds. me and my mother had nightmares, night terrors of the hole in her chest. But back to what I was saying. The weirdest part is somebody knocked on our door. When we opened it, they were gone. There was nobody there. We didn't see any cars. There was a stack of papers, like a big giant stack of medical records, just sitting there at our front door. My mother never went through them. I never went through them. But
We got real problems.
I feel like whatever was in them papers was something that was done to my grandmother that should have never happened. So there was definitely a case, but definitely not worth going through the pain and stuff. I think honestly it's still too late now. And, that's not, I don't want to get even with somebody because in the end they have to live with whatever they did. Okay, so any questions for that?
Hmm. Well, my one question is to you. If your grandmother was still here and she were to look at you, would you think, would you say that would you say that she's proud of the person you are now?
Absolutely, because I've come a long way from who
And
I was when I was younger.
to close this off, um, if there was anything that you could say before she left, what would you tell her?
I would tell her that I'm sorry that I was a stupid teenager and wanted her to leave me alone because I didn't want any parental figures bothering me. And I would I'd ask her to spend one last time with me by listening to our favorite Prince album, which would be Prince, the CD of 1999.
We call that flipping an asset.
But it would be mainly apologizing because I was a horrible teenager, and there was a point where actually if she was able to with the energy, I'd ask her to play the Black Ops 2 zombie game she promised me. So because we were supposed to play it. Okay, on to set 3 questions. Share with me an embarrassing moment in your life.
Um, hmm. I got a couple, but we'll keep it friendly. So, when I was when I was like a little boy or so, when my grandma was still around, um, we had this big old pasture because my family, we raised animals. We had a couple of cows, but this was when I was like 4, maybe 5. I was a wild child, and no matter how hard my parents would try to keep me in clothes, I did not like clothes for the life of me. So I was a runaround butt naked boy. So I would run around the house everywhere, run around outside. So my grandma was babysitting me, and I left to go do something. And my grandma took her eyes off me for a single second, and she said, I found that boy outside running around in the pasture with a big ol', I don't know, like 400-pound cow. It's probably bigger than that, but just a huge cow, just little 4 foot
That fog.
5-year-old
Crucial element yet to reveal
chasing
more.
this cow butt naked. And she said she came outside, she was threatening to beat my butt. And and he had a
Created that
whooping
revelation.
stick and everything. And I ran to her crying. I was like, "No, Grandma, don't beat my butt." I called that
Plugged
embarrassing.
into the oscillation calibrator back at Tanofsky's workshop.
But uh, with me,
Flattered.
I wouldn't say it's really embarrassing because I honestly I don't remember it. The story is just it was told to me over and over again. I'm like, oh well, it happened. But yeah, that's my embarrassing story. Anyway, when did you cry last in front of another person or by yourself?
You see, I was gonna say, like, the time I got fired when I called you, but now it would be probably just now with the tearing up. I mean, it wasn't full on crying, but when you asked me what I would say to my grandmother, if I had one last chance to say something to her before she went, that that kind of got me a little bit. I mean, I'm still trying to kind of like wrap my eyes and stuff, so yeah, it's definitely a sensitive topic, as I said. So that would be the last time I cried. Then I know my eyes burn, so I need eye drops. Okay, so here's a sad question for you as well. Definitely prying. Um, of all the people in your family, whose death would you find the most disturbing and why?
Mm, I'd say for that question, it's not really a matter of disturbing, because most of the family members I lost, they went out peaceably, like mostly during their sleep. But I'll say my grandma before she died, um, a lot of stuff happened. She started losing her eyesight, and started to lose most of her functions. And that was during the time of um,
So done with target
when she
simulation.
discovered she had tumors in her brain. And I think one of the most disturbing things about that time was going to visit her in the senior center where they were taking care of her. Is I found that they had to cut half of her skull off. to make room because the growths were growing so big that it would have hurt her really bad. And she was in pain, but
Chewing on a live
they
wire.
kept her on drugs most of the time, which was another thing that was disturbing. And just seeing the woman that I grew up seeing all the time, my grandma, uh, like that. My think it's weird me saying this, but I believe my grandma was one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. Not in a weird way, but in a way as like when I hung out with her, the way she would talk, the way she would conduct herself, she seemed like like a fairy tale fantasy of like what a lady should act like. Like she just seemed very noble, very not posh because she didn't grow up during she was a very ladylike woman. She was very makeup, very very um she was very curtsy, as one can put it. So seeing her like that, her
So
go
very
from
polite, well-mannered, and basically respected herself
mhm.
as what people don't do, nowadays with like the way they dress and act and stuff. Because, I have a little
If you
sister.
can think about it, you would think she's like the queen, like a noble lady from England during the Victorian age, like 1800s or so. Like just very. She, she's a very proud woman. Yeah, very curtsy. But seeing her go from the woman that I knew, how she act to somebody who's just bedridden, her skull was gone. Just seeing the shell of what used to be was very disturbing. But I know that she was in pain and they kept her on drugs to subside that fact. But it was just if why
It seems the device must
drugs
ingest some kind of code.
in my head I asked myself, we always say drugs don't solve anything and don't bring any sort of relief to your they might bring little bits of relief to your pain, but it's always gonna be there. So do you why should we just keep them there and let them suffer? It's very when once you see that with your own eyes, it's horrible, you know.
Yeah. To my one question, that's probably another thing we do have in common is the traumatic experiences of losing our grandparents.
I heard that one.
And that does hurt hearing you had to go through that as well.
I think one of the things though that it's it's a very like rich thing to say, you know, like a way to put it, but I don't one way that helps through me is like with being religious and all that, you know, they're not truly dead. Like you believe in your heart they're not truly dead. And plus don't yeah, you can remember like the bad memories like that, seeing that, but that's if that's all you remember of the person, or the people that you love, then it's like it just ruins the whole image of them. You gotta remember all the good things that they did, all the good things they added to your life. That's what truly lets them live on. And plus, if you're religious, if you believe in heaven or hell or whatever you believe in, it just adds to it just gives you hope that one day you'll see your loved ones again. And I like to believe that all the people I lost in my family, they're going on a journey. And it might be weird of me to say, but like, yes, I'm sad that they died. I don't get to see them anymore in the, as you would say, in the flesh, but I know that they're here with me in spirit, and I'm me. I'm a Christian. I believe and I follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, and I believe they're there with Jesus. And I'm it's what makes me happy. Like I'm sad they died, but I'm also happy because I believe that Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior, is taking care of my grandparents and the people I lost. So that's my philosophy about it.
As I've gotten, older, and how I told you, with being on like a higher functioning of the spectrum and stuff, that my age, like my mentality age is a lot younger than my actual age.
Mm.
So obviously, I matured a little bit slower than what most people do, but think one thing from me working in the healthcare field, I cry, I'm a crier in general. So when I started to get too immune to losing a lot of my patients, or what we call them residents, I started to get immune to it. Now there were times where there was this one resident, I did bawl my eyes out. But it was more like I was so sad that she was gone, but then then it turned into the crying of how these memories were so beautiful, and being able to make them smile, and just be there for them. So, as for crying, because I miss them, I do miss them terribly. And I do know that, I'll be able to see them again someday, but I still cry over like the happy memories too. I mean, it took me a while to finish grieving over my grandmother. It probably took me about 8 years to stop crying at night. 'Cause my grandma has been gone for 10 years. So, no, 11. I think. No, yeah, it's been 10 years, because I was like, man, I was telling my mom, I said, it stinks, because, like, my grandma could have been alive because, back when I was, like, in high school and stuff, people would think that, oh, make a wish, it's 11/11, or it's 12/12, the double digits. So, everyone thought it was cool that in 2014, the last, like, number thing would have been December 13th of 2014, so it would be 12/13/14. So we were kind of sad about that. My grandma probably would have thought that was funny, but But the timer is up first at 3, and I just want to say thank you, babe, for helping me with my homework assignment. You're the best. And thank you for the questions, and thank you for answering my questions.